My name is Laura. I'm 32 years old. 10 years ago, I was young and beautiful. I worked at a big company in the city. I had everything: a good job, a rich boyfriend, a bright future. Then I made the craziest decision of my life. I left it all for love. I married Richard, the cleaner at my office. Everyone said I was stupid. Even my mother cried. But I didn't care. I was in love. Now, 10 years later, here's my life. I'm standing in my small kitchen. It's midnight. My husband Richard is asleep on the couch. He worked 16 hours today for $15 an hour. We have 2 children, one son and one daughter. They're asleep in the bedroom we all share. We can't afford a bigger apartment. Last month, our electricity got cut off. We couldn't pay the $200 bill. The kids cried because they couldn't watch TV. Richard cried too in the bathroom when he thought I couldn't hear. Tomorrow, I have to tell the kids we can't go to Disneyland again. We can't afford it again. This is my life. This is what I chose. And tonight, everything changed. I went to a charity event. My old company invited me and I saw him, Peter, my ex-boyfriend, the man I left 10 years ago. He's a CEO now, a millionaire, still handsome, still single. We talked. Peter told me about his success, his company, his life. Then he said, "Laura, I never forgot you. I have a job for you, $150,000 a year. It's yours if you want it." Peter gave me his business card. I'm holding it right now. So, here's my problem. If I call Peter, I can take the job. We'll have money. Real money. My kids can have new shoes, new toys. We can go to Disneyland. We can stop worrying. But Peter isn't just my boss. He's my ex-boyfriend. The man who loved me. The man who might still love me. Can I work for him? Can I see him every day? And what about Richard, my husband, the man I chose? The man who works 16 hours a day for me? For us? Would Richard understand, or would this destroy everything? I look at the business card one more time. Then I look at Richard sleeping on our old couch. What would you do? Let me tell you how this started. 10 years ago, Peter proposed to me. Diamond ring. Fancy restaurant. He said, "Marry me, Laura. I'll give you everything." I said I needed time. That night I cried at my desk. Richard the cleaner found me. He said, "Are you okay?" I told him everything. He listened. He didn't judge. Richard said, "If you loved him, you wouldn't be crying." He was right. We started talking every day. Richard told me about his dreams. With Peter, I felt small. With Richard, I felt seen. 2 weeks later, Richard said, "I like you, Laura, but you're engaged, so I'll never say it again." I said, "What if I want you?" Richard looked at me. He said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yes." That evening, I told Peter. I said, "I can't marry you." He said, "What? Why?" I said, "I met someone else." Richard the cleaner. Peter's face turned red. He said, "The cleaner. Laura, don't be stupid. You want to give me a life. Richard makes me feel alive. I choose him." I walked out. 6 months later, Richard and I got married. We were so happy, but life wasn't a fairy tale. We live in a small apartment. There is only 1 bedroom for 4 people. Richard finished his school last year, but he can't find a better job. I work from home as a designer. I make about $2,000 a month on good months. Yesterday I met Peter. He offered me a job, $150,000 a year. He said, You don't have to struggle anymore. He gave me his business card, and now I'm holding it at midnight, trying to decide. We could pay off our debts, buy a house, and send the kids to good schools. I could call Peter right now and change everything. But what if old feelings come back? And Richard, would this break his heart? But don't my kids deserve better? My hands were shaking. I heard a sound. Richard was awake. He walked into the kitchen. I hid the card. Richard made tea. He always made me tea when I was stressed. He sat next to me. He said, "Laura, I need to show you something." He gave me $2,000. I said, "What's this for?" Richard said, "The kids, they've never seen the ocean. I've been saving. It's not much, but it's enough for a weekend at the beach." Tears filled my eyes. Richard said, "I know I'm not the man you deserve. I can't give you a mansion. I can't give you financial security. But I can give you this." He took my hand and said, "I can give you a man who will never stop trying. A man who saves for 2 years to see his kids smile. A man who loves you more than anything. I know it's not enough, but it's all I have. Please don't give up on us." His eyes filled with tears. I looked at Richard. Then I remember something. Peter bought me a diamond necklace once. I lost it. Richard made me paper flowers. I still have them. That's the difference. When I was sick, Peter sent me flowers. Richard held my hair while I threw up. When I was sad, Peter bought me things. Richard just sat with me. I pulled out Peter's card. Richard saw it. His face turned white. I said, "Richard, I saw Peter yesterday. He offered me a job." Richard said, "Laura." His voice broke. I did not let him finish. I tore the card. I said, "I choose you." Richard looked at me. He said, "But that was—" I took his hands and said, "I knew what it was. I know what you are. Peter could give me everything. You give me yourself every single day. I'd rather struggle with you than live comfortably without you." Richard pulled me close. We both cried. We both chose love over money. 1 year later, I got a job at a company. Good salary, good people. Richard got hired as an engineer. Not at a big company, but it was real engineering work. He was so happy. We're not rich, but we can breathe now. We can pay our bills on time. We're saving for a bigger apartment. One afternoon, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello, Laura. It's Peter." I hadn't heard his voice in a year. I said, "Hi, Peter. How are you?" He said, "I'm good. I heard you and Richard got new jobs." I said, "Yes, we were lucky." Peter said, "Laura, can I tell you something? The jobs weren't luck." My heart stopped. I said, "What do you mean?" Peter said, "I called some friends, people I know at different companies. I told them about you and Richard. I recommended you both." I couldn't breathe. I said, "Why would you do that?" Peter said, "Because I realized that true love isn't about having someone. It's about wanting them to be happy, even if it's not with you. I loved you, Laura. I still do in a way. But I can't be the man who destroys your family. I can't be the reason your kids cry. So I helped quietly, not to win you back, but because if I really love you, I have to let you go, and I have to make sure you're okay when I do." My eyes were full of tears. Peter said, "Laura, you chose Richard for a reason. You chose love over money, and you were right." I said, "Thank you for helping us, for understanding." Peter said, "Don't thank me too much. I'm not that noble." I said, "You're a good man, Peter." I hope you find your person too. Someone who sees you, not your money. Goodbye, Peter. He said. Thanks, Laura. Goodbye. I hung you. Richard walked over. He said, Who was that? I told him it was Peter. I told Richard everything about the jobs, about Peter's help, about his confession. Richard was quiet for a long time. Finally, Richard said, He helped us. I said, Yes. But why? He said, Because he loved you enough to let you go. That must have been hard for him. I said it was. Richard took my hand and said, I love you, Laura. I said I love you too. 10 years ago, I chose love over money. Some people thought I was crazy. Maybe I was. But I did it again every single day. Because real wealth isn't in your bank account. It's in the person who holds your hand when life gets hard. Peter taught me that true love meant letting go. Richard taught me that true love meant holding on forever. If you liked this story, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.